Hello, listeners. It's Noelle, the player of Vivian. We have a different episode for you this week. One of our team members is out, and we're using this time in between books to kind of get caught up with our level up and our loot and all that fun stuff. I'm gonna warn you guys, this is a super nerdy episode. Lots of number crunching, lots of explaining mechanics of Pathfinder. You'll definitely find it interesting if you play Pathfinder or role-playing games. If you don't, you might be a little bored. I do promise that we make some pretty funny jokes throughout, but we won't be too insulted if you don't listen to the whole thing. My suggestion, download it either way because that makes our numbers look good. I want to thank Sword Coast Soundscapes for this episode for adding some background noise so you can focus on that if you want to ignore our blabbering on and on. You can look up his stuff at youtube.com/swordcoastsoundscapes. I think that's all for me. Get prepared. You may want to have a drink while you're getting into this one, and I hope you have a great week. Bye.
Why so sighing? What? Stifle?
Why the long face?
There you go.
Well, I'm a bit bummed out, guys.
Why? Because
My car just rolled over 160,000 miles, and I missed watching the odometer.
Is that why you decided you got the covered parking space today?
Did I park in covered parking today?
Yes, you
You're
did.
in the covered parking space today.
I noticed that. I thought, why did Noelle get it today?
Yeah, I was going to ask you that when I got home, but I forgot it. Just like, oh, well, I guess Noelle decided she's parking in covered parking today.
You know what? My subconscious decided I was parking in covered parking today because it is so cold outside. I didn't want to walk.
I'm parked under a tree. It's fine.
well,
That's hilarious because I didn't realize I did that.
I think it's safe that you didn't watch it roll over. I think you should pay attention to the road and not your odometer.
I could do both. That's why it's there.
Yeah, that's what they say when they can pay attention to their phone and the road at the same time until they can't.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to be driving and trying to take a picture with my phone while on the highway. That was my plan.
But not a picture of the odometer. It was a selfie with the odometer just over your shoulder.
Exactly.
And then in the background in the windshield, you could see the
wreck coming.
Yes, the person in the crosswalk with their hands covering their face.
I always wanted to be famous. Now I can be on all those posters of Don't Text
Wanted
and Drive.
posters? Oh. I thought you meant at the post office.
You've already been rear-ended like 4 times, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I didn't do anything to...
Yeah, none of those were your fault, but they all
No.
happened on your birthday, so...
Yeah, that's true.
She doesn't drive on her birthday anymore.
They're not
Nope.
the same birthday. It's 4 separate birthdays, but for some reason she keeps getting rear-ended on her birthday.
I've been rear-ended on my birthday.
Or other people's birthday. She got rear-ended on her brother's birthday, too.
Yep.
That happened.
Yep.
It's terrible.
There's a series of years where I'd go get a shot every birthday, like of liquor, because I'm just like, and just arrived another one.
Okay.
Here we go.
Well, at least it was after your crash,
Yes.
not before.
Yes, after.
Yeah, that way you're not at fault.
Right.
So those of you who are paying attention, you've noticed that a voice is missing.
Who?
Yeah.
So
ooh.
now that we've completed book 1, we decided we didn't need Gary anymore, so we murdered him.
No GM for us. The cat is away. Well, the cat is dead. So,
Yeah.
but he's got
Or
9
is he?
lives.
Or is he? He's in a box.
Schrodinger.
For the NSA, that is a joke. We didn't actually kill Gary. He's just not here today.
He's trapped in a room somewhere.
Yeah, trapped in a room somewhere.
Trying to escape.
Dead or alive. But we decided to do a recap episode without him, so we could discuss our own take on everything in this episode.
Yeah.
And we're just not going to tell him that we released it.
Yeah.
Don't
It's a
listen
secret.
He doesn't listen to the podcast anyway.
So, so we leveled up last time. Woohoo!
Yeah, that's a
Yes.
big one. Level 4.
Level 4.
And-
first ability point.
Yeah, first
This is
extra
true.
ability point.
And all of us, except for one person, survived book 1.
It's true. We had a 20% survival rate.
No, it's
No, we had
I mean,
80%
80%.
survival
80%. I did it backwards.
That was some Noelle math there.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I just...
No, he did the math right. He just had the wrong
Yes.
side of the equation.
No, yeah. That was my dyslexia.
Got it backwards. Correct, but backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so leveling up is really big news. So we leveled up at the end of book 4.
No. We leveled up to level 4 at the end of book 1.
Now who doesn't know how to talk?
This is drink number 2.
Are you sure? Or is it drink number 4?
Shush.
So, end of book 1, level 4. Huzzah. Who wants to go
Yay.
first?
I would nominate Vivian to go first because as a cleric, you probably have the easiest level up.
I agree. So, yes. So the cool thing about level 4 is we get a new ability point, as Philip said. What does that mean, Richard?
So for those who aren't familiar with the mechanics, your ability points are a term for your stat points, your strength, your intelligence, those things that make up the
core of you.
Yeah, the core attributes of your character. So you have, based on the rules of when you create your character, a certain number of points that you get to use at the beginning, but then you slowly gain additional points as you move along. And 4th level is the first level where you get an additional point that you get to put wherever you like.
So I have a question.
Yes.
So, like, if you go down all the way in your constitution or your strength, it's very detrimental. What happens when you go down all the way to your charisma?
You're talking about, like, due to charisma damage?
Yeah, like, you hit 1 or 0 on charisma. Does anything bad happen to you besides people think you ugly?
Yeah, it's beyond ugly. I mean, it's...
You are beyond.
You're beyond ugly. How dare you?
It's very rude.
It's like you, and I could look at the specific explanation in the Pathfinder book, but you lose any ability to empathize or predict the intentions of any person at all.
Huh.
So you become a sociopath.
Possibly, but even less functional.
Okay.
Depending on how far you go down.
Sociopaths can be
Charming.
yeah.
I watched Ted Bundy's, the Zac
He was
Efron
very
Ted
charming.
Bundy this weekend. He was definitely a sociopath, but people liked him.
Zac Efron played Ted Bundy?
Yeah.
It's pretty good. I liked it.
Ted Bundy is apparently a breakout role for Pretty Boys because in my generation it was Mark Harmon played him, and he was breaking away from a pretty boy role in St. Elsewhere.
I've only seen young Mark Harmon in, was it Presidio?
Presidio. Yeah.
Was St. Elsewhere the one where it was just a autistic boy's dream?
Well, you've just spoiled some movie.
First of all, that was a TV show. Second of all, yeah, like it was.
It could be. I never watched it.
He was looking in a globe or something.
A snow globe?
Yeah, that's how it ended.
Isn't that Citizen Kane?
No, that's Rosebud. Well, there was a snow globe in it.
It could be. I never saw the last episode. I actually only watched that show intermittently. But,
So I have your answers, Philip.
Uh-huh.
So at 0 charisma, you are unable to express yourself and are unconscious. At 1 charisma, you are barely conscious, able to blink, and expressionless. 2 charisma, capable of only minimal independent decision making.
Okay, so charisma is just it sounds like it's just your personality. It's not just your looks, it's your personality.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's always been that way. Like, if you have a high charisma score, it's not just that you're pretty. I mean, that's included in the package, but you're also likable and, eloquent.
So how come dwarves then get started off as negative in charisma?
I think it's because they're very insular and tied into their own culture and don't relate particularly well with other... Because, I mean, they're an underground race. Most of the other races they interact with are above ground, and they come from underground, so just their core ability to relate to other people is stunted.
So they're ugly xenophobes.
Kind of.
That's what I was thinking of, is like there was that whole long period of, Japanese history where they're like not talking to outsiders whatsoever.
Yeah.
And so they've got a very strong culture, but it's, So we already gotten derailed. We're 10 minutes in and we're already derailed.
We were talking about leveling up.
Oh yeah, no, we got one thing from Vivian, I think.
1 ability point.
I haven't told you what I put it in yet.
Where did you put your ability point?
So I had... so the other thing, as far as the way the mechanic works, is your ability score affects your modifier, and it only goes up when you have an even number.
Yes.
Or when you come up to an even number in your modifier. So a base level ability score is 10, and your modifier is 0.
Yeah, so for those listening at home, 10 is considered perfectly average. If you have 10 strength, you're at average strength. If you're 10 dexterity, you're averagely dexterous.
And most of my ability scores I've got even numbers in, which means if I added a point, it wouldn't change my modifier. But I had a 17 wisdom and a 15 charisma. And clerics use both of those scores pretty regularly. Your charisma modifier affects how many channels you can do per day.
And the save DC of said channels.
And your wisdom modifier, that affects all my spells and my spell DC. And my domain abilities, how many times I can cast those per day. So it was really a toss-up. And it was really tempting to want to get my wisdom up to an 18 this level, but I decided instead to put my point into charisma. So I now have a 16 charisma, which means I have a +3 ability modifier. Which means I get to channel 1 extra time per day. So I'm now up to 8 channels per day.
And the save DC also went up by 1.
So my save DC is 15.
Well, the save DC also went up for another reason. Noelle, would you like to explain that one?
Because my cleric level went up and I divided by 2, and that means it's higher.
Yeah. So that is another mechanic that's going to be very important at level 4. There's a lot of skills that go up by 1 every 2 levels, and you round down, so that means for level 1 through 3, it's just 1. But when you get to level 4, that's the first time it goes up to 2.
So for all of y'all listening, if you haven't figured it out, this is going to be a super nerdy episode with math and explaining mechanics. If you're not into that thing, you should still listen anyway, because we're going to make silly jokes somewhere in here, maybe, or will be.
We hope.
But, yeah. For everyone else who enjoys this kind of stuff, welcome, and glad you're listening. So yeah, that's where I put my ability score.
And to explain that ability score thing again, just to give an example, if your score is 14 and you put your 1 point to make it 15, that doesn't have any mechanical change because the modifier doesn't change because it's divided by 2. But if it's 15 and you change it to 16, sorry, the cat's meowing. Shut up, Lando. I think he's done. But if you have a 15 and put it up to a 16, that does have a mechanical change because the even number now increases your modifier by 1.
That's a lot of information. Just, if you're playing, it's best to start off odd so you can be even and get points. How about that?
If you're playing Pathfinder, you probably started off odd to begin with.
True.
Eh.
Well, you're not left with much choice, though. Isn't this something as you set it up, you roll anyway?
Well,
We do it with a point buy. We don't do the roll.
That's the old school way, ma.
Okay.
Yeah. Modern iterations of this game have become far more egalitarian and given you more of the option to buy your points rather than roll for them.
Works for me.
But you're all right. Back in the olden times,
Back in the olden days,
you had to roll for your modifiers, which meant they were set in stone and it wasn't your choice.
which generally meant that you didn't even decide what you were going to be until you rolled all your modifiers, and then you saw
what made sense.
What made sense. Because if you didn't have a good charisma roll, you better not be a sorceress.
Exactly.
Because what's the point of doing the random rolls? It's the idea is this is what you're born with, and then developed over time through nurture and stuff.
You know, it took years to get this nerdy.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that system. If you want to play, hey, I just want to see what I turn out as, that's fine. But if you have a character in mind ahead of time that you want to play for a specific adventure, it's much better to go with the point buy, because then you can craft your ability scores to match what your character needs.
Well, you know, a lot of things changed. Like having money to start with
That was
a big advancement.
Currency, what a novel concept.
Well, you just didn't start off with as much as you do now.
Well, and that's something else that will come up later in this episode, and of course the adventure. The whole time we've been doing this podcast, Mom, you've joked about not, like, if you die, you're done, because you were so afraid of
Having to re-roll a level 1 character.
Yes, because so you thought that you'd come back in at level 1.
Yes, and that was never any fun.
Because that was the old rule. You had to come back at level 1.
It's horrible.
But in modern times,
they have modified rules which allow you to build a character that is already leveled, and it tells you how much gold you should have and all those sorts of things.
So let's say your character died in the first book and you needed to bring in a new character.
You mean like me?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Philip, I forgot you were here.
I thought you were dead.
Who could we be talking about?
So yeah, no, I got to completely create a whole new character, and they got a good sized amount of gold, so I got some masterwork and magical things, so it's gonna be fun on a bun.
Do you think they're probably better equipped than the three of us?
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, you got a whole lot of stuff in the dungeon, right?
Yeah, this dungeon did have unusually valuable magical items for loot, but normally when you do bring this is one of the weaknesses of the system, is when you do bring a character in late that's already leveled, the gold evens out, but the reason that the new characters are more powerful is because you get to decide specifically what you spend that gold on, rather than it just being randomly distributed through the loot you got through the book. So you really get to craft it to what you really want for that character.
So, do you want to give us a little tidbit about your character? They haven't been introduced story-wise yet, but you want to tell us anything about them?
Or have they?
We can save that to the very end. How about that?
Fair enough. Other than that, clerics, again, super easy to level up. I can cast one more level 1 and level 2 spell now. Huzzah to that.
That's big.
So the way cleric magic works is basically you pray each day and your god gives you the spells that you'll need to be successful that day. Depending on the alignment of your cleric and of course the personality that you're playing and things like that, there are certain spells you may or may not use as a cleric, i.e. if you're a good cleric, you're not going to use evil spells.
Do you have a cat smelling your headphones?
Oh, I absolutely know that. So anyway, this smell and this head don't go together.
So I've played clerics in other campaigns, and I played a true neutral cleric, and I had so much fun with her because the way I built her had a very logical story reason to use a lot of really dark cleric spells, like Bone Shatter, and a lot of blood. There's a lot of fun blood cleric spells, like making people bleed out of every orifice and boil their blood and turn it into acid and explode and all this stuff. They're so fun and super gross, and I really like those spells. But Vivian would never use those.
Yeah, and this is one area where I definitely want to shout out to Paizo and Pathfinder, and I don't know how much of this carried over from 3.5, but one of the weaknesses of the system is that you really need a cleric in almost every party because there's so many healing and restoration and cure spells that you need access to that your party's going to be incredibly crippled if you don't have access to. But the positive side is that clerics are really fun to play.
Yeah.
There are a lot of options. They're not difficult to play, and there's so many different flavors. You can be aligned with different deity, and it's not just the flavor, but mechanically there are huge differences between clerics. You can have battle clerics, you can have evil clerics, you can have dancing clerics, you can have crafting clerics.
You have charming clerics.
You could have charming clerics. You can have nature clerics. There's a huge panoply of options when it comes to making a cleric. So they really made it worth being the obligatory healer.
Yes. So I really do enjoy playing a cleric, but my point is I'm not really used to playing. The last character I played was she's more of a bad girl, and so this is a good girl, and her spells are fun, but I feel like I have to think more of like would she use this spell?
This is probably your biggest challenge as a player is playing a character who isn't slutty.
It's true. I do love playing sluts.
Well, I mean,
in the game, let's be clear, in the game.
I don't want to slut shame, but I mean the way you play your character is what's the word I'm looking for? Is she doesn't know that she's being like that.
Yes. So all of our other characters are consciously
Yes.
Slutty, yeah.
Yes.
This one is accidental. So this is her loophole.
Yeah, this is a movement in the right direction. She's a good girl slut. She hasn't learned her slutty ways yet.
Accidentally.
Accidentally slutty. Now I'm thinking about House Bunny. Well, she was obviously slutty, but anyway.
Well, just to clarify, it's fun because it's a complete juxtaposition of Noelle's personality.
Yes, I'm an old lady in real life. I knit in my granny nightgown and
She made a cool little tissue box that was a vampire.
Wasn't knit. She didn't knit that.
Yeah,
it has yarn in it,
point
right?
is I do crafts. I do crafts with my cats in my jammies.
But that's part of the fun of this game is you get to experiment with different characters.
Yes.
Completely different from your own personality.
Precisely. So the last thing...
You're supposed to be different?
Yeah, I know. There's so much of me and Roderick, it's a bit embarrassing.
That's true.
I was nothing like Thurskell.
Yeah, I can tell the audience Philip is nothing like Thurskell, so don't make any assumptions about Philip's personality.
Well, I think Philip is as funny as Thurskell.
As funny, yes, but nothing else.
Yeah, no.
He's much smarter. So, the last thing that I'll say, because I haven't had a chance to use it yet, and I'm saying it on mic to remind myself to use it later, because I don't think we've ever really talked about this fully on mic, but when you're a cleric, I've never had a chance to talk about being a cleric. So when you're a cleric, you have two domains, which are, what would you call it? Focuses of power that are given to you by your god.
Yeah, so the gods have domains tied to them, and those are the domains, those are what give them their flavor. Like I said, with the nature god, you'll have domains like weather and plant and animal and those kinds of things.
So my goddess Shaylin, the domains I chose for her were charm and fate.
And you decide those when you create your character.
So fate is why I get to cast Bit of Luck on people. And her charm ability is Dazing Touch, which I haven't really got to use yet because you use it on living creatures and we've been fighting a bunch of undead. But because of that being her domain, I was inspired with one of my traits
However, while you're mentioning that, we did have a listener pipe in and say technically dazing touch is not mind affecting, even though that probably should be. But we'll get into that later.
And what daze does is the creature is unable to act normally. A dazed creature can take no actions but has no penalty to AC. So it's a pretty cool thing. It stuns someone for a round. Well, it doesn't technically stun because that's its own thing.
Yeah, because stun is its own mechanic.
Alluring. That was the trait I took, and it's similar to dazing touch, but I can cast daze as a spell-like ability once per day, and my caster level is equal to my character level. Is that the same thing?
No, that isn't the same thing. It depends on if you multi-class.
How's that different than my dazing touch, Richard?
So, dazing touch, your DC is based on your cleric level, whereas your spell-like ability from that trait is based on your character level, which is different from your cleric level only if you multi-class.
Got it.
So if you only take one class throughout your entire career, throughout the entire campaign as one character, then your character level and your class level are the same, so there's no difference between those two.
Well, here's my last question. It says I can cast daze as a spell-like ability once per day. Does that mean I have to roll a melee touch attack, or do I just do it?
You just do it because you have to look at the rules for daze, and that is a targeted spell with a save.
So that's why it's cooler than just my charm domain ability.
Yeah, because you don't have to touch with it.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's
here's
cool.
So here's a little tease. I'm multi-classed.
Ooh,
multi-class character.
Yes.
We've got a lot of hybrid classes on the podcast so far, but no real multi-class.
Well, I'm a hybrid multi-class.
Ooh, that's even more complicated.
Super complicated, but I have Hero Lab.
Yeah.
I love Hero Lab because I don't have to do any work.
Yeah. Yeah, if you don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of the rules, digital aids are certainly helpful.
Mm-hmm. So that's all I got. Dazing stuff. I'm hoping I get to use that more in book 2 because I'm hoping that we won't be fighting just undead. But I am interested in hearing about this email later.
And so now, the next one we're going to talk about the level up is Zenobia.
Yes. As Vivian indicated, we got ability points at this level. Every four levels, you gain an ability point. I also had a bunch of mostly even ability scores, so I decided to put my ability point into my con. It takes me to a 15, which does not change the modifier. It'll be level 8. And only if I put yet another ability point into it would my modifier change. But it does make me fractionally harder to kill.
Yes, because if you go unconscious, it starts ticking away at your con.
Yeah. We explored these mechanics several times in book 1 as Roderick almost died repeatedly.
Almost died, yes.
Oh, and I died for realsies. But, I mean, that was a lot of damage. I was going to die regardless.
Well, man.
It happens, as we know.
But just going over the mechanic again real quick to what she just referenced, after you go below 0, you have up to the negative equivalent of your Constitution score. So if her Constitution is 15, that means she can go to negative 15 before she's permanently dead.
So, as we know in this game, 1 point can make a difference.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
So that's why I chose to put my ability point in con as opposed to something else.
I think it's a very good choice.
I could have improved my charisma, but let's face it, I'm a Slayer Grave Warden. Charisma,
And frankly, a bit ornery.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah,
a little ornery.
It's just not it's not where I need to be putting my emphasis.
I'm now imagining, smile, Zenobia, and she's like grimacing. She's like, I am smiling.
I am smiling. That's what my father used to say.
I mean, okay, so, if you were a dude, I would call you grizzled. Is there a lady grizzled?
Grizzled is
Lady
old.
grizzled.
Grizzled implies old, not...
well, yeah, it kind of does, but, I mean, it's just...
Leathery.
Leathery.
That's your dad.
Yeah, my dad's grizzled.
And leathery.
And leathery.
Instead of ornery, I would have used grizzled, but you're right, there's an age component
I'd say
with grizzled.
strong, frankly.
But that's so boring.
All right, she's frank. She's
Yeah.
strong frank.
Cranky.
Yes. Cranky.
Really
Cranky.
cranky.
No, cranky is negative. Grizzled doesn't seem negative to me. It just means,
Right.
that's his way.
Grizzled
Seasoned?
to me is weak. No.
Really? Weak?
I'll come up with an adjective and
I
tell you.
think grizzled's... No, I really want to get into this now. I think grizzled is about a physical appearance rather than an attitude.
yeah.
Like, mussed up hair,
And-
gray beard.
Dirty.
Dirty.
No.
I wouldn't say
It's got
dirty.
stubble
Scarred.
and bits of food stuck in the pockets of their skin. She's definitely
I'd
not
say
grizzled.
I'm a practical person. as a
Severe.
character.
How about severe?
Severe.
Stern.
Stern, I think, is better than severe.
Yeah.
I used to have kids, So, I mean, I've been a mother.
Yeah.
My sternness takes a particular character.
Use a glass.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And a coaster.
Where is your coaster? Yes, I was going to say, where's your coaster? Wash your hands. Brush your teeth, sort of thing. Comb your hair. I never have a problem with Vivian because she's well groomed. Anyway, enough about that. So, increase my con. The other thing that I get to do at this level is I get a Slayer talent. So it's not my archetype
Right.
talent.
Well,
Okay, the Holy Water Sprinkler was specifically Grave Warden.
yeah, it was a Slayer talent, but the Grave Warden takes that Slayer talent for a specific use.
Right. The first talent I got to take at level 2 was a archetype talent. The Grave Warden takes the talent slot, and that's when I got the Holy Water Sprinkler.
Mm-hmm.
Which has been very useful.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It in fact made me effective, especially before I had a magic weapon. And once I had a magic weapon that I could Holy Water Sprinkle, then it became
The game was over then.
quite effective against undead, etc. But now at level 4, I get to take my second Slayer talent, and I chose Trap Finding because Slayer is a hybrid class, rogue, ranger. This is one of the places where I get to take advantage of this.
Something from either of them?
Something from specifically from being a rogue. I get Trap Sense, which is a rogue ability. I have an increase +1 dodge bonus to my armor class if I'm being threatened by a trap.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I get half my level added to perception and skill checks, and this is specifically for trap location and disabling skill checks, and then I can also use disable device against or to design magical traps.
You can design magical traps?
I'm sorry. I read it as
Disarm.
design, but it actually says to disarm.
Okay.
I can't in fact design them, but I can in fact disarm
But
them.
you're not a magical character. How can you do that? That's awesome.
Well, yeah, I can't. I
That's
guess.
so funny.
But I can disable them,
Okay.
and I can disarm them.
And sort of from a story point, I'd imagine this is something that Zenobie's probably been working on with her Slayer proficiency, but specifically getting in the magic traps. Now that she's got Roderick at her side all the time, she's probably working with him and trying to, like, okay, so what does this glyph mean?
Yes.
I'm starting to identify what makes it
Yeah.
magical
Plus-
and how it works.
Exactly.
I can now use the thieves' tools that we found in the dungeon,
Yeah, we found those Masterwork Thieves tools several episodes ago.
Mm-hmm.
which no one's been able to use.
Correct.
But now I can use them.
It's probably another inspiration, which Zenobia was just staring at that safe in the warden's office.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes,
we've-
it's like, damn it.
yeah, and fortunately for us, we haven't run into too many actual traps, but we have run into several locks, and she probably was just staring at them in frustration.
Like, I know I should be able to open this.
Also, as I increase in levels, this affects, a lot of those doors and the porticuli that we were having to jam chairs and debris things. I believe with this, I should be able to disable them, and we wouldn't have to jam rubble into them.
Exactly, yeah. You can use Disable Device to jam mechanisms that way.
Very cool.
So,
I think
so
it's
yes.
a very good choice for
So-
your Slayer talent.
Bye-bye pitons.
No, we'll never give up the pitons.
That could still be a part of that. You could use the
Yes.
pitons in your Disable Device check.
Exactly.
I don't know that the pitons ever actually helped, but they were a
Security blanket.
security blanket.
It's a fun word, too.
And it is a fun word. So that's probably the biggest thing I have affecting me from a character point of view. And then I put different ranks in various skills.
Oh, yeah.
So
I learned Sylvan.
You put a point in linguistics?
Yes, I put a point in linguistics. I also put a point in history. So.
Good, good. Those are both class skills for a cleric, so those are good choices.
I did not. I just put points in skills that I already had. I did not take any new skills other than Disable Device, which now makes sense for me to take. And I put 3 ranks in there.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, did you just put 1 or you put 3?
Wait,
That's
you
awesome.
can...
Well, I have a armor check penalty.
So if we really need you to get down to it, we could take your armor off.
Right, but because I have an armor check penalty, I put more skill points in those items that I find useful, but that my armor check penalty applies to. So I'm trying
Yeah,
to
my
compensate
question
for
was
that.
just you put multiple ranks into
Yes.
Disable Device this level.
Yes,
And
I put 3 ranks into Disable Device.
I was going to ask if you could do that.
Yes.
Yes, you can put points up to your maximum level.
Okay, so I could... Yeah, so since we're level 4, she could put 4, but not 5.
No, I
Yeah.
get,
Correct.
Well, I get 6 plus 1.
No,
Yeah.
into one specific skill.
You can't stack it. Like
You can't put everything into there?
You can't
Well, I
put
guess
you can't
you
put
can
points
put
in
up to-
beyond your level.
You can put up to your level in
Yeah.
points.
Since you had 6, you could put 4, but not 5.
I see.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Or
and Slayer.
mechanics.
Yeah, and Slayer is a good class for that because Slayers get 6 skill points per level plus your intelligence modifier, so that's quite a lot.
Right, and I usually take at least you're allowed to put that into hit points.
Yeah, so she's talking about the favorite class bonus, but the standard favorite class bonus is you can either put 1 point into hit points or 1 point into a skill point.
Right.
Usually you want to go hit points to keep your character alive, unless there's a specific skill you need.
So
But
is
that's
it-
not your
So
intelligence
is it
bonus.
6 plus 1 plus 1?
What's your
It-
intelligence bonus?
Nothing.
Then no, you
Yeah,
don't
it's just
do.
6 plus 1.
So 6 plus 1. I have been doing it
6 plus
correctly.
1 for what?
Skill, choose a human.
So I put 6 into skills, and then I take that 1 and I put it into hit points. And I'm doing that correctly.
There was an additional one for being a human. Humans are skilled, which they get an additional skill point.
So I've been shorting myself a skill point then.
Quite possibly.
Hey, good. Make a note. Add 3 skill points. Maybe I can learn a language.
There you go.
Hooked on phonics worked for me.
Yeah, yeah. So,
There's a cat eating
Ow.
Willow's hair.
is she licking you?
No, she's biting me.
She eats her hair.
Okay,
She got some
so
scalp on that one.
after that, then, so this has effects on all those things affect your base attack bonus and
Saves and all that
saves
stuff.
and blah blah blah. So that's all been added in. I did pick up that ring of protection, which is nice because that's actually giving me another armor point.
Yeah.
And she's going to be even more so the front line than she has been.
Yes, and
Be even more salty about it.
and we talked about trap finding, and that's really cool. So I get to be really do all that irritating rogue stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
No, let me check for traps.
I want to check this random clearing for traps in this forest.
Only if it gains me experience points, right?
You never know whether it
So,
could be
you
a
never
huntsman's
could.
trap.
Well, there could be one of those tiger trap things, you know.
True, but we don't get XP in this game, in our game.
I think we do.
Do we?
I'd say it's discretion. of
Because
the,
I think he's just been leveling us up, a milestone level up, not an XP level up.
I think it's been
6
kind
of
of
one,
a
half dozen of the
yeah,
other.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's how I do it. I kind of loosely tie the experience points to different milestones, especially when it's an open-ended book like this one has been.
Yeah. Now, the one thing we haven't discussed yet is loot.
No, the one thing we haven't discussed yet is Roderick.
Oh, yeah, Roger.
Yeah. So the other changes to my character involve things that I had to pay money for, but we'll come to that after
We discussed
we
Roderick.
discuss Roderick.
So I think I remember hinting at this earlier, but a lot of things have turned on for Roderick this level.
Yeah, you've been really excited for
Yeah.
this level.
I've been really excited for level 4, and I don't even know where to begin.
Cold spells.
Ability score.
Yeah, I guess we'll start with ability score because that's where everyone else has gone. So Roderick also put a point in con. However, his constitution score was 13. So putting a point into it makes it 14, which makes it an even number, which makes the modifier +2. So not only does he get an additional hit point this level for the +2, it's as opposed to the +1, but the way Pathfinder works, you retroactively get the points from previous levels as well.
Right, I forgot
Nice.
about that. So your HP is going to get a beautiful bump.
Yes, he's going to get a massive bump for the Constitution score he got now, and +1 additional for the past 3 levels.
Very cool.
So that's big. So he's going to be hardier now.
Well, moderately more difficult to kill.
On the topic of moderately more difficult to kill, Roderick also gets access to second level spells now.
Ooh.
This is a big thing for
excellent.
him.
Yeah.
So can you start using those frost spells now?
Yes, it's funny you should mention that. So, you remember I took Rhyme Spell at 3rd level, but I didn't really have a good use for it. He could use it, but not really. Now that I have access to 2nd level spells, one of the 2nd level spells I took was Flurry of Snowballs, which is a 30-foot cone of snowballs which do 46 cold damage.
That's hilarious.
Excellent.
However, one of the traits I took was Magical Lineage, which means that I can pick one spell on my spell list, and I can add a metamagic feat to it at a 1 less penalty, at a minimum
wow.
of 0.
Wow.
Which means I can cast Flurry of Snowballs with the Rhyme Spell metamagic feat added with no additional cost.
Now, we talked about this in an earlier episode. Can you please explain now what a metamagic feat is?
This is
or
good.
what meta magic is?
Yes, so metamagic is a way to further spice up your spells. Most of them have an additional spell slot cost. So Rhyme Spell is an additional cost of +1. So if you cast a 2nd level spell with the Rhyme Spell metamagic feat added, it becomes a 3rd level spell. You see, you add 1 spell slot. However,
Would you have to have access to 3rd level spell slots to cast it?
yes, you
Okay.
have to be able to cast a spell of that level. So,
Okay.
which is why I couldn't cast any 1st level spells with my Rhyme Spell, because it required a 2nd level spell slot.
Gotcha.
However, with this magical lineage trait that I took, I can put the Rhyme Spell effect on Flurry of Snowballs, and it still is a 2nd level slot.
That is so mathematical and very cool. And now I remember why I never do metamagic stuff on my characters.
It is very complicated, and you have to have a specific vision in mind when you're doing it. So, and just a refresher, Rhyme Spell, what that allows you to do is if a target takes damage from your cold spell, they are also entangled
Oh,
for
wow.
an equivalent number of rounds to the level of the spell. And since Flurry of Snowballs is a 2nd level spell, they would be entangled for 2 rounds. And
Wow.
There is no save.
And really?
There is no save.
And you chose an area of effect spell, which means you may be able to entangle multiple targets.
Exactly.
Very cool, Richard. So, does the way Rhyme Spell work is you can only attach it to one spell? Or could you, let's say you had another snow-themed, another ice-themed spell, could you attach Rhyme Spell to that as well?
Magical Lineage only allows me to reduce the cost of one specific spell, but Rhyme Spell
Rhyme spell?
But Rhyme Spell can be added to any spell with the cold descriptor.
Okay. Very cool. So, the magical lineage, that's a feat? What
It
is
is a
that?
trait.
It's a trait. Okay.
Yes.
And so, does the spell that you have it attached to, is it like, does that change every day? Does it change?
No, it is set when you make the character.
And is it only one spell that you can do it to?
Yes. you
Ever?
Yes. One spell ever. So you have to decide what spell you're attaching it to when you create the character.
Is that why you didn't cast any? 'Cause
Yes.
You already knew what you wanted.
Yep.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Just needed to get to level 4.
Gotcha. Well, my head hurts now. I'm glad I'm glad you were right. We shouldn't have done you first. I'm glad we did you last.
That was my plan.
Oh.
So the other 2nd level spell I took was Mirror Image, which should help my survivability.
I have another question because I've never played a arcane spellcaster. How does so your magic comes from a book, right? Like you've got a
Yes.
spell book.
Yes.
What's the lore? What's the idea behind like how you get new magic? Like is this like a spell you've been creating over months that you've finally written down and figured out how to write it correctly?
Or did you just find it like in a book somewhere?
Or did it just pop in your head and you were like, Eureka!
Kind of both. So the way
There's
that
3 things though.
That is 3 things.
well, I was ignoring the 3rd thing.
Oh, screw you.
So it's kind of both of the first 2 things. So when you level up, the arcane classes are usually written, the spellbook classes, that you get an additional X number of spells each time you level up into your spellbook. So usually 2. So that represents that as you're practicing your arcane magic, you're slowly figuring out additional spells that you can just add in for free. However, with the spellbook class, you can also add in spells from scrolls using a spellcraft check. So, which Roderick has done as well. So that's one of the benefits of a spellbook class is you slowly learn new spells automatically over time, but you can also spend money to add additional spells or add spells from scrolls that you find.
And that's another reason it was a real bummer that we had to destroy the Splatterman spellbook completely, right?
Exactly. That's why I was really trying to hold on to any of those that we could. We couldn't in the end, but if we had been able to save any of those spells in that book, Roderick could have copied them into his spellbook.
We'll have to ask Gary when he's back, but I wonder if you would have been able to, because eventually the spellbook had to be destroyed. Like, I wonder if somehow there might have been a magic lock.
Maybe in the window between the fight and destroying it.
Yeah, maybe, but I wonder if maybe there would have been something that prevented that. I don't know.
Why couldn't you just write it down? I mean, it was right there. Just write it down.
That's not how writing magic works.
But it's
You don't know.
It's like a recipe, right? Add 1 part cricket legs to 2 parts doggy tails.
Well, those poor doggies.
Well, I mean, I'm not a witch, so I don't know.
Well, he's not a witch either. That's different.
Kind of am. So that's a really good transition. One of the other big changes for Roderick is at 4th level. Normally, a Magus gets an ability called Spell Recall at 4th level. Roderick didn't get that. Because of his archetype, instead he gets his first Hex, which is picked from the Witch's Hex list.
And what's
so he's a witch. Burn him!
What's your archetype?
Hexcrafter.
Right, I forgot that. And
And
So
sort of
Hex is in about an hour.
So the way that it's sort of written is the
I didn't-
Magus I didn't get it either.
No, lens
crafters.
Come on.
They don't wear She doesn't wear glasses. So.
We all wear glasses except for Noelle.
I've got
2 eyes, 2 eyes.
2020, bitches.
Yeah, you're the weird one at this table.
Sorry for my superior vision. Want me to tell you
that's a different shop. Superior vision.
Want me to want me to tell you the time on the microwave? I can read it from here.
She would get mad at me when we first started living together when I would ask her what time it was.
Like the middle of the night.
And she'd be like, why can't he just look at the... It's because I can't see it.
I figured it
I have
out.
my glasses on.
I can see that there's letters, but I can't read them.
Yeah, no, I can't. I'm with my glasses on, looking at the microwave from that far. I can't read it. I don't know what time it is. I think it's 9.
Let's see. It's 9:18.
She cheated by looking at her phone. Again, a visual joke for the listening audience.
In my defense, Philip's head is in the way.
That's true. It's a pretty big head, too.
Anyway, so for Roderick's Hexcrafter archetype, and the way it's sort of spelled out briefly in the rules, is that the Magus is able to harness his arcane powers and manipulate them to mimic the hexes of a witch.
Oh.
And for his first hex, he took healing, which is what he was trying to do when Thurskill died. When I said he was trying to do something that wasn't working.
Yeah.
He's been slowly working on this over time, and he's finally got it now at level 4, but he didn't have it at level 3, which means healing basically allows him to cast Cure Light Wounds.
Was he inspired by Vivian?
No. Not in the least.
Well, screw him then.
Not in the least, but it's like Cure Light Wounds. However, hexes work slightly differently. He can do it any number of times a day he wants, but it can only be done a certain number of times per target. So he can only use the hex on each person once per day. But he could use it on everybody he sees if he wanted to.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's Cure Light Wounds using his Magus level as the caster level.
Very, very cool.
Yep.
So you don't have to carry those pesky potions anymore.
Well, he still does if he's already used his healing on himself.
Yes, but
That's awesome.
It's a lighter load.
yeah.
And this was inspired by his mother, not Vivian.
Oh, right. His
Yeah.
mother was a healer.
Yes.
Cool. I think Vivian inspired him too. He forgot about his mother until this moment.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wait, is she dead too? No, she ain't dead. She lives back home, right?
Yeah, she's still alive. She lives at home.
Yeah.
He writes her letters.
Yeah. Daddy died. Mama's alive.
Yeah, he knew one day, he was like, I'm going to be able to do what you do, Mom. And he did.
Again, thinking in his American accent.
Yeah, he thinks in his American accent.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
Other changes are Roderick finally got an additional arcane pool point. That's one of those things that we talked about earlier, which goes up once every 2 levels. So now that he's level 4, he has his intelligence modifier +2.
And this lets you pull a spell that you've already used before?
No, that was spell recall, which he doesn't get.
Oh.
No, this is the one that allows him to magically enhance his sword.
This is where you can be fancy and do magic and hit stuff at the same time.
No, that's spell combat spell strike, which
Oh
does
my
not
God.
use the arcane pool.
Yeah.
I hate Maguses.
Magus is so complicated.
It's such a Richard class.
Yeah, they are pretty much dicks.
So in addition to that, base attack bonus saves, the usual. The only other really interesting flavor thing is I finally put a point into craft weapons and craft armor as a part of his devotion to Torog.
That's cool.
He knew that Dwarfy was good at crafting those kinds of things, and he'd been working with Dwarfy to pick up some pointers, and he knew that his being a relatively recent convert to Torog, he needed to get on that.
Now, is that a class skill for you?
I think it's a class skill for basically every class. Craft is.
It's not on my list.
Yeah, I mean, you could add it down below, and
And I would get a bonus?
yeah,
from
I'm
something?
pretty sure it's on your
So
classes
You got craft weapons
and armor.
and armor.
Yes,
And what is that modified by?
intelligence.
Oh, well, I'm a +0 on that, so.
Yeah, it was another reason it was good for Roderick to take it, is because he
Yeah.
gets a +3 intelligence modifier to it. So
So does that mean Roderick and Dwarfy can fix Vivian's breastplate that took, or not breastplate, scale mail that took 6 points of damage in that last battle?
Dwarfy will do anything to your breast you ask.
yeah, that was going to be my answer too. But yeah,
He's going to open up a little shop here in Harrowstone.
Yeah, so we haven't talked about Dwarfy. I mean, I don't know how the audience... I haven't looked at the market research on Dwarfy, but I think for the next book we've decided to leave him in Ravengrow.
yes.
Well,
so,
one would think that he decided to stay in Ravengrow. We didn't just be like, You're not coming with us,
The
Dwarfy.
players decided, not the characters. No.
Yes, yes. The players decided it would be a good idea. He's basically going to be our base. He's going to be like when we come back to town instead of Kendra and the inn. He's basically going to be our queue. He's going to be the guy that makes us stuff if we need it.
Yeah, and our next plot hook is returning these books to the university, and Dwarfy wasn't included in that. Mm-hmm. We were, but he's not. So there's no reason he'd want. I mean, he could if he wanted to, but
Yeah.
And to be fair, his personality would totally go with you.
yeah. But Ravengross is home, and,
Well,
and
sort
he
of.
lives at the inn.
Yeah.
But they haven't been nice to him.
No, everyone's been mean to him.
But he's got a lot of thinking to do. I think he's just had a very...
Well, Sariana's been nice to him, and that's where he lives. So
Yeah, but I think Sariana just feels sorry for him.
he still can live there. I mean, that's a good enough excuse.
True, but and I did level him up, so he's got some stuff too.
Let's talk about Dwarfy's level up.
Sure, we can do that. So he took his ability point in strength.
Very nice.
I mean, he's a dwarf. He uses his hammer. I think that strength is
Makes
something
sense.
that he needs. So that's
And you
why
got a
he
lot of
took
practice with it lately.
it. True. Yes. Yes. Even though he rolled poorly, he swung it at least.
He tried.
Yeah, so that's what he did. So Dwarfy is he has an archetype called Forge Priest, and what that basically does is when he uses his Sacred Weapon class feature on an item that he created, because I mean he creates stuff, he can enhance it by +1. So is that right?
So it already gets a +1 bonus. So
So it's another +1,
yeah,
right?
the Forge Priest, if he created it himself, he gets an additional +1 on top of that bonus.
Yeah. So
But it costs 2 fervors.
Yeah.
yeah, it does cost 2 fervors,
That's cool, though. That's super cool.
but I
we
mean,
have him do it on.
Oh, no, he can only do it on himself.
yeah, he
That's
can,
the...
yeah.
Oh.
It's
He
greedy.
can't
greedy
make
little
armor for other
priest.
people.
He can make armor for other people, but this ability we're talking about, he can only do on himself.
Yeah, because it's an ability on top of an ability.
Yeah, you know how Roderick spends an arcane pool point to enhance his weapon? Sacred Weapon kind of is like that. It's the same thing.
Oh, so he can't create a sacred weapon for somebody else with this +2 bonus on it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, the Sacred bonus is something he does temporarily to his own weapon.
Got it. But only if he's created that weapon.
For this bonus, yes.
And he can make weapons sacred now. Sacred weapon is another bonus feat that he gets.
It's a class feature he got at 4th level.
Yeah. So as a swift action, he can grant a weapon an enhancement bonus or certain powers. So
Is that anybody's weapon?
it's
Yeah.
his sacred weapon.
It's very, very similar to Roderick's arcane pool.
Yeah. So yeah, he can make it.
So I don't care. Zenobia doesn't care.
Yeah, Zenobia wouldn't care.
It's like
Yeah.
it won't work on her weapon, so
I think, see, that's where I think the severe rather than stern comes in, by the way.
severe is still the wrong word. Practical makes more sense to me.
It's very self-centered practical.
I think practical is a very self-centered thing. Practicality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you can be practical.
Self-centered.
for
I think self-centered is a better description than anything else.
Well, that's awesome.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so that's so if we ever need to use him again, I think we're going to continue to level him up just so that he's battle ready, but he's going to stay in Ravengrow.
Here's the question. Can we go to Dwarfy to upgrade our weapons at a discount?
I would say if this was real life, he would absolutely give you a discount. But since this is a game that has rules and mechanics, I don't think that he's going to. But that's up to Gary. That's not up to me.
Well, it depends on his craft skill, because the way it works is you spend 1/3 of the total cost of the item you're trying to craft on materials, and then you have to take time crafting it. So Roderick can do that. He has a +7 right now to his craft skills. He can't do the most complicated stuff because he's just getting started at it. So he can't, like Masterwork, for example, is a DC 20, and I can't get a 20 by taking 10, so I'd have to roll for it, and that's risky. But I can create basically any regular weapons and armor by taking 10.
And in
Gotcha.
fact, that's a good segue to our next section.
Yes, we are going to talk about
Because I take advantage of that. I'm planning on taking advantage.
Well, we all love loot, except, my upcoming character won't get any of this loot.
No, but they get to come in with all their gold.
That's true.
their own stuff.
That money.
Yeah, no, they have money left over, too.
Alright,
That money.
so
Money.
in-
Yeah.
In terms of the big treasures, Roderick took one of the sets of Masterwork studded leather that was laying around in the chest that we found, and his big takeaway from the dungeon was that +1 keen longsword, which is such a huge... Can I go into that real quick?
Are you going to describe the pommel again? Because the answer is no, if that's what you're doing.
No. I'm going to bore everyone in a different way. So those who are familiar with the Magus will already know this, but the spell Strike ability, which allows you to deliver a touch attack through your weapon.
Which doesn't use arcane pool points, Philip.
No,
it doesn't?
It does not.
Oh, I thought it did.
No, that's the other thing.
So, for those who aren't aware, any ability that has an attack roll can crit on a 20. Even spells. If you roll a ranged attack or a melee attack, a touch attack with a spell, it can crit on a 20. The reason that this is so interesting for the Magus with the expanded crit range is if he's delivering a touch spell with his sword, the spell also gets the expanded crit range of the sword.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, like, Shocking Grasp would crit on a 20 if anybody else was casting it. But if a Magus is delivering the spell through his sword, and his sword has a 17 to 20 crit range, Shocking Grasp can also crit on a 17.
Now, let me ask you this. What happens if you fail? Like a natural 1?
Oh, yeah. Super fail.
Basically everything that happened through book 1.
So you die. So you die and come back.
Does both the weapon and the spell fail? Would you do a magical fail?
If it's an attack roll, we would use a fumble card. But ordinarily, if you miss the attack, the rules say that your spell remains charged, so he can keep trying. So I don't lose the spell. The spell remains charged in the weapon until he casts another spell or delivers the spell.
But you're not going to blow us up every time that you fail to hit.
That depends on what the fumble card says.
Fair enough.
Is there a fumble card that attacks allies? Because I don't like that.
There are more than one fumble card that attacks allies.
There's a fumble card that beheads you.
No, that's a crit card.
Oh, it's a crit card, yeah.
So we want the...
Does that permadead you?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have a head, so...
Well, just ask.
Depends on what level you are and what spells you can cast. So did anybody else keep any big treasure from the dungeon?
Not super big, but I took one of the Masterwork chainmail sets.
That's a sizable increase.
And, we'd gotten a Masterwork heavy crossbow, and I decided not to keep that because it's just so big and it's so heavy and I can cast spells. So I sold that and I'm keeping my light crossbow, but I've still got the fancy bolts. I've got some +1 bolts as well as some alchemical silver and cold iron. So from the dungeon loot, that's the only thing that I did. And then, we separated out the potions.
Yeah, we divvied out the potions, cure moderate, lesser restoration, that kind of thing.
Boring.
Zenobia, you got some interesting loot from the dungeon too.
Yes, I took the Masterwork Thieves' Tools.
Yes.
And I've been coveting these tools since I saw them and wanted to use them. I took, in terms of weapon improvement, because you took the Keen longsword, I took your Masterwork longsword. So I now have a Masterwork longsword. So that's
important.
A good thing. Yes.
Do you still have your flail, or did you sell it?
I still have my flail. I have
And the mace?
Yes, of course I have my mace. It's magical.
Yep.
So I'm not giving that up. But I have the flail turned out to be a lot more useful weapon than I expected it to. And in addition to being a bludgeon weapon, it also has the ability to disarm and trip. So I'm going to hang on to that for a while.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, man.
Maybe upgrade that too.
Yeah, Dorothy will do it for you. Half price.
And then you got the Masterworks Thieves' Tools, which
Yes,
is why you
Masterwork,
took...
which is why I took the disabled device skill.
So cool.
Is there magical thieves' tools?
Probably, but I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Like a +1 keen magical?
And what these tools do is they just help with the rolls.
They add a bonus to disable device checks.
Because they're so well made.
Yes. So, and I can finally use them, and I'm excited about that because, like Roderick, this is something I haven't really been able to exploit for the first 3 levels, but now I can. Now I can sense traps. I'm going to be looking for traps everywhere.
So Zenobia turned into a thief, and Roderick turned into a witch.
Well, I turned into a rogue.
Same thing.
Rogues and Thieves Guild don't get along.
Rogue sounds more romantic than...
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the thieves want you to think.
That's what the rogues want you to think, too. So there you go.
And you got the much coveted +1 ring of protection.
Yes, I do have the +1 ring of protection, and that makes me happy because anything to improve my armor class, I'm for it.
And that was
Me too.
That was a team decision. We decided to put all our eggs in one basket on that one and just make sure Zenobia's AC is as high as possible. Just throw her first at everything.
Because Thurskill and I shared the meat shield responsibilities.
Yeah.
And he's gone now,
and
so
he's
it's all
gone now.
all fallen on her.
So-
He served his purpose
He did.
as meat shield.
And yeah, my next character's not going to be a meat shield.
More spoilers.
More reason to have Zenobia buffed up as much as possible.
Even higher
Now,
AC.
the problem I have is that I'm not, in fact, a warrior. I'm a slayer, so I don't like the up-close and personal combat as much as I really prefer to stay far away if I can.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the advantages, too, is I can use all kinds of martial weapons. I'm qualified in them. So that leads me to something else that I want to talk about, which is, as we're talking about division of loot, that was the physical loot. Everything else we've decided as a team, we're
Just selling.
pooling and selling.
Yeah, so
If people didn't have a personal desire. So all the wands went to
the appropriate
Vivian.
casters, mostly Vivian.
Mhm.
mostly Vivian.
Yeah, so I got a wand of, what was it?
Hold person.
Hold person.
And Vivian got the rope of climbing,
Yes.
for
Which
obvious
she
reasons.
needs. Yes. Which she needs. She thinks she can actually climb.
Yeah.
We haven't quite told her
Yeah,
yet.
we haven't told her yet.
We just dyed the rope pink. Like, you'll want this one.
Yeah.
Use this rope.
but aside from the stuff that we divvied out, Vivian got like the +1 mithril dagger just so she has a magical weapon.
Yep.
Yes.
But aside from that, we sold everything else. So the masterwork chainmail, the masterwork longswords, all those kinds of things, pooled all together. The total ended up being 1,091 gold and 5 silver per person.
Woohoo.
And this is including Dwarfy. We gave Dwarfy his cut because even though we're abandoning the NPC, we couldn't in story justify not giving him his portion of the loot.
That's how cool we are in this game. That's how
So-
into it we are.
Zenobia was kind of grumpy about it.
So,
That's
I mean,
Zenobia.
what does that mean for the NPC? Does it enhance his craftability?
Yeah,
I mean, he can buy shit with
yeah,
it
he
now.
could upgrade his forge. He could do whatever he wants with
He
it.
could buy a forge now. Like, well, I don't know how expensive forges are, but
You could probably buy one with 1,000.
he could buy a chimenea.
Magic forge?
That's a feat. That's not the forge.
Masterwork forge?
Probably.
You can buy a chimenea and put it in your backyard.
No, it's just a regular old fire pit where he roasts marshmallows and creates weapons. And
So cute. And he just did it in like the middle of the gazebo in the circle square.
yes, just in the middle of town.
It just becomes this weird hobo.
Hobo camp.
Under the spreading chestnut tree,
Exactly.
the village dwarfy smiths.
So
You know what? I'm excited for Dwarf. I think this is he got enough money to start his smithing business.
yeah.
Um,
What will he call his forge? His company?
oh, I don't know.
Snot.
Snot.
Snotty.
Snot.
Snotty the forge.
Go away.
I feel like we're setting up for one of the opening quests in The Witcher 3.
Well, I want you to think on that because I think you'll come up with a good
Yes.
name. But ponder that. I want to talk about what I bought with my monies.
Yeah, real quick. Roderick didn't buy anything. That +1 keen longsword is already bounds ahead of what he was trying to work for. So he's just satisfied with that. So he's just hanging on to his gold.
Very nice.
I hate that.
So Vivian bought a wand of cure light wounds because I have a feeling we're going to need that at some point. She also sold. I think I mentioned this earlier, but I can't remember. She sold her scale mail as well as because she got the masterwork chainmail. She went ahead and sold her scale mail, and with that and the loot money, she bought that wand, and then she's bought a new holy symbol.
Ooh, what is it?
So first of all, her previous holy symbol was her hair clip, and it was wooden because clerics don't have that much money when they first get started out. So now she's bought a golden holy symbol, and I haven't decided what it's going to be. It's going to be some sort of jewelry piece. I don't think I can logically say that it's a hair clip anymore because Richard told me we found out that if you add 5 gold to the total amount, you can add a secret compartment to your holy symbol to hold a potion. And I was like, yeah. So now I've got a holy symbol with a flask in it.
So you're an alcoholic?
Basically.
Okay.
That's definitely a Caden Kalian thing.
Yeah, definitely seems like something meant for that, but I figured I could put, we were talking, the possibilities seem endless. We could put a Cure Light Wounds in it. We could put a Potion of Invisibility or something in it so that she could take it and then just go around buffing people, not get hit, which
Yeah.
I like.
Lots of possibilities.
So, I haven't decided what potion I'm going to buy to put in it.
And for those who are concerned, the text specifically says it is a church-approved secret compartment in the holy symbol.
What does that mean?
It means you're not desecrating the holy symbol.
Ah, that makes sense. Okay, yeah. I'm trying to think. It's like a hikes or skirt or something. So that's what I'm really excited about the new holy symbol because I always wanted her to have a gold symbol.
Did you not get hair clips at Harrowstone also?
No, those were what we found in the safe. Those were some prisoners' belongings. Vivian doesn't want those. She wants to return those to the town.
So I think that's important too. It's like some of the material we did not sell because in our assessment it was
There may be more
personal.
plot relevance, yeah.
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 We're going to save that for when Gary's back.
Yeah. That's more flavor than money.
What'd you buy, Mommy?
So what I bought was a composite masterwork bow.
Long or short?
Long bow. So I've replaced my short bow with a composite long bow that it's a +2 and it's a +2 strength modifier. So you couldn't draw this bow.
No, I'm too weak.
So I'm strong enough to draw it, and it adds to the damage it does.
Yeah, from a mechanical standpoint, the composite longbows and even composite shortbows are made with additional tensile strength, so that way it requires additional strength beyond the norm to draw it, but it also allows you to add your strength modifier to the damage.
Now, next level nerdy, what does a medieval composite bow look like? Because I can imagine what a modern one looks like. It's got the wheels that like pull it back, so it's crazy.
Think of Mongolian horse archers. It's like layered, glued wood.
And it's got like the curves in it?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's usually recurved.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Is how it builds the...
I didn't realize
tension.
that's what that meant. Like, that's what that did. But cool.
I knew that composite meant the lamination,
Yeah.
and that's how you build the strength and the flexibility. I guess is the different way the layers go.
Exactly.
This is it uses a higher hit dice. It's a 1d8.
Does more damage.
Does more damage.
Mm-hmm.
Because the bow came in very handy in the last adventure. We're going to be going out on the road, so there'll be even more opportunity. I'm expecting to use it.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have I have many arrows because I acquired Thurskell's arrows. Some of them I'm not carrying. But
So was it grave robbing or archaeology?
It belongs in a museum. The museum of my
it
pocket.
belongs in a body. is what it does.
Archaeology, you're not that old.
What? Huh? What did you say? I didn't
You
hear.
just died.
Archaeology, you just died. You're not that old.
But it's from olden times. Aren't we in olden times right now?
But it's just
It's not
times.
olden times when you're in olden
Yeah,
times.
it's just times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Times are hard.
So
Anyway.
so wait, this is olden times, but for the future?
Yeah.
Ow.
Don't worry about it.
I hate time travel.
Yeah. Things always go bad.
Did you buy anything else?
What did I buy? Yes, I bought something that is so cool, and Roderick's actually helping me with it, and maybe Dwarfy wants to help with it too. But I bought an illuminating boss for my shield. So there are these things called shield bosses, and they rule the shield.
They ask you if you've done your
if you've
TCP
done your homework.
reports.
Yes.
That would be great.
That would be great. They're actually like braces that go on to the shield. And you can have them do different things. They have ones with hooks, and they have ones with really expensive ones. I can't remember what all my choices were. Let's see.
You could put a splash weapon in it.
Yes, you could put a splash weapon, but that seems kind of stupid because then your shield takes whatever splash damage
It does.
you're doing. I mean, all I would put in it would be something else I could throw holy water on.
So what did
but
you take?
What I took was an illuminating boss because I've had an issue with
Visibility.
with visibility and light and where I want my light to be. And if I'm going to be carrying light, I'd rather it be in the middle of my shield rather than hanging behind my head, backlighting me. So this has a place where you can put a, what do you call them? The glow sticks?
Sunrod.
Sunrods in the center. And you can open and close it. So it's got like a shutter.
Oh, that's cool.
So it fits like a framework over the shield that already exists, and then has a center mount.
It's like it's like a cell phone snap case.
Yeah,
but
it's-
it's
yeah.
got, but it
sits on the front instead of the back.
Yeah, and it's got a place you can put a flashlight in. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
Exactly.
That's super cool.
Yeah. So, and Roderick he gave me a bargain. It cost me. It should have cost $300 to install this onto my shield, but he was able to do it for $100. The item itself cost 35 gold, which I thought was a deal.
Yeah, so the rules say that it costs 300 gold to affix it, but using the craft rules, you could use your craft skill to affix it for a third of the price. So Roderick just charging her the materials cost. He's doing the labor for free.
That's cool.
And I'm doing him a favor because he's getting to practice.
Mm-hmm.
So I get the benefit of having this boss now on my shield, which makes my shield that much more useful. I don't think it actually doesn't change any other value on the shield.
Just the shield's hit points,
Yeah.
but that we don't have to go into that.
You know what, Mom? That's boss.
Yes, I think so.
I'm pleased with myself.
And that's
And-
interesting character stuff we can get into next episode, because Roderick has been spending a lot of time with Zenobia, both learning magical traps and helping her with a shield boss.
Mm-hmm.
And it leaves me with a little goal because I'm saving up because my next significant purchase, I want mithril armor.
Mm-hmm.
Get that movement speed back up.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's it for leveling up. The next thing I wanted to talk about is we have received some listener feedback, which is very exciting.
That is super exciting.
So
Someone's listening.
A couple of people actually are talking
Yeah,
to us.
no,
back.
more. Yes, all the listener feedback I get are from like friends. So this is exciting that it's somebody that I don't know
Strangers.
that's listening to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you, strangers,
Yes,
for listening
thank
to
you.
us.
We do appreciate it.
we do.
Yeah, so we have a quick one from Steven. He left us a very generous tip, and I do have to apologize for this one. He says, "Thank you for the great podcast. My son loves it too. We appreciate the lower amounts of swearing than similar podcasts."
Ooh.
You know what? I've heard a lot of actual play podcasts. They have dirty, dirty mouths. We only have dirty mouths. They have dirty, dirty mouths.
And I felt like we had earned that compliment up until he gave us that compliment.
Yeah.
And then immediately after that, we started fighting the Lopper and the Splatterman.
Yeah.
And
There were
it
many
went-
bad words.
Yeah, it went south. So I apologize for that.
Yes, to both you and your son.
Yeah.
Your son, things are intense, but we do try to keep it to
A minimum.
a minimum, an artistic level. We're not trying to be gratuitous.
Yeah, no, PG-13, not R.
That's what we're
Yeah.
trying for.
Yeah.
We don't always.
I thought
Make
the
me that.
I thought the F word moved you into the R category.
Only if you say it more than once.
Oh. Well, we're definitely in the R category.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Wait, have we said it at all this session?
Shit, I don't know.
We'll cut it out if we did.
But thank you, Steve.
Yeah,
That's so
Thank
nice.
you so much. Yes, no, that's going right to the Make Us Funnier Fund.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That means alcohol.
I mean, yeah, but you didn't have to tell him that. So, we also got a couple of delightful emails from Tom Majuba in Seattle, Washington. Majuba in quotation marks, so
Are you sure you're saying that right?
no.
What if it's Majuba?
I'll let him email us to correct it.
Well, he's done it a couple times.
Yeah,
So.
so he took us up on our offer to correct us on the rules, so I want to apologize ahead of time. In our groups, I'm the guy with the encyclopedic knowledge of the rules. One of my shortcomings is when it makes sense to me, that's the rule. Regardless if the rule actually says, if it makes sense in my head, then that's the system I'm going with, which usually works, but every once in a while I make a mistake. One of the big mistakes I have been making for several episodes is I've been calling Quick Draw a swift action. Tom so delightfully reminded us that Quick Draw is in fact a free action.
So what does that mean?
Yeah, what does
How does that
mean?
affect things?
It means, so here's my argument. I think swift action makes more sense and free action is dumb.
Well,
He's right by the rules, but that means Zenobia could drop and draw every single weapon in her arsenal in a single turn.
I thought. Oh, I see what you're saying. You could just keep like a
Be like
comic
you say,
book.
No, I want to do
drop.
this.
Yeah.
Not this. Not this. Not
No,
this.
but that's hilarious. Like she's running through a pack and throwing it over her shoulder.
Yeah, it's like a
nope,
goofy
nope,
cartoon.
Nope, nope.
Well, so in my head, I thought Quick Draw worked. I realized I'm confusing it with a gunslinger ability. I don't know if it's just a gunslinger. I thought like rapid reload.
Okay.
Not just gunslinger,
That's a
but you
free
know.
action.
Yeah, but it's a free action, but it's specific to your gun or your weapon. It's a specific weapon that it's assigned to.
Yes.
So you can't reload something that doesn't need loading in the first place.
No, it's like if you have a light crossbow and a heavy crossbow, they take different times to load.
Right.
But even if they didn't take different times to load, it's like the rapid reload ability is specific to the weapon. So it's like I'm really good. I have more practice with this weapon than I do with the other one.
So if you took rapid reload for the light crossbow, that would not apply for the heavy crossbow.
I understand.
So that's in my head how I've always thought Quick Draw worked.
That is another common mistake with Quick Draw, but that is not how the rule works.
So in the rules, Quick Draw works like the magician that has the scarves that are all connected to each other, and he just keeps pulling them out and pulling them out and pulling them out.
Exactly. So I think it should be a swift action, but he's right that the rules technically say free action.
So how does this affect Zenobia's turns going forward?
I mean, she can change weapons at 0 penalty.
What about her
mostly
holy
where I've
water?
been, yeah, that's mostly where I've been using it.
And that's one of the ways that I've been mixed up. And hold on, I'm going to look this up so I don't get it wrong.
because that's where it would have affected me. I think if I quick draw, the way we've played it, I believe, is if I quick draw a weapon, I can't also quick draw holy water on the same, which is incorrect.
Which is, I think, what's incorrect.
Because theoretically, rule-wise, I could.
So yeah, we've also been wrong on that one. The holy water counts as a weapon, so you can quick draw that as a free action as well. So you could quick draw as much holy water and as many weapons as you want.
So we've been gimping her ability.
Yes.
Everything that you've wanted to do, you'll now be able to do, which is quick draw a weapon, put holy water on it, and then... Or
Move
quick
and
draw
attack.
the holy water, and then put the holy water on, and then move. You'll be able to do
And
it all.
attack, yeah.
What she wants to study too.
Can't move and study.
But if I don't move, I could study. If I
Yeah.
stand in place.
Yeah.
So I don't think it changes any of the outcomes of any of the battles. I don't think it would have saved Thurskill's life, but noted moving forward that quick draw is a free action, not a swift action.
For both weapons and holy water.
Yes.
For Zenobia.
Yes.
Because holy water is a weapon for her. But it wouldn't be that way for someone else.
Correct.
Okay.
Unless they had quick draw.
No, unless they were a grave warden. You're the only
Got it.
person
I'm the
who
only one who
considers
used
holy water as a weapon.
Water as a weapon. Yes. Yes.
So Tom also notes some other rules that we got a little bit wrong, mostly with combat maneuver, which honestly I'm okay with
man.
because there were a couple times where it's like, I don't know the actual rule about that, but it's going to take way too long to look it up, but it's not important, so we're just going to guess what the rule is. And move
Combat
on.
maneuver is so rough.
It is.
I see why they did away with it in second edition. Honestly, I have real quick. I have mixed feelings about it. I love the idea of combat maneuver checks and defense, but Richard and I were talking about this off mic the other day. The problem is whenever you're using it, like combat maneuver defense, whatever you're using it against is really good at whatever it's doing.
Exactly. The only creatures who are going to use combat maneuvers are creatures who are really good at it, like with grab plus 4 higher than their normal check.
It's like there's no way for me to escape from a giant octopus. Well, then what's the point of trying?
Exactly. It's a tough one.
Just kill him.
Yeah, it's made of nothing. It's made of meat, no bones. Smush it.
So he does point out several interesting notes here. I won't go through all of them because some of them are really esoteric.
No offense, Tom.
How
we
dare you.
really appreciate the email.
No, I'm defending he's my defense lawyer against you, the prosecutor.
I'm just saying I don't think Tom wants us to read the entire email.
Okay, yeah. No, I don't want to read the entire email.
That's all I was saying. He does say that he loves Way with Words as well.
It's because it's a great show. You turn it on and you're like, oh, this. Why would I want to listen to a podcast about entomology or etymology?
Etymology is about insects.
Yes.
Etymology is about
I always
words.
get that confused.
I already missed it up. Yeah.
But I mean, who wants to listen to a podcast about that and then like
I love it.
2 seconds later, it's been an hour and you've listened to the whole thing because it is so engrossing.
Once again, like curling.
Yes, yes.
I still hate curling.
Still hate curling.
Oh, how could you
think-
ever hate curling?
You think you hate it until you watch it, and
No,
you can't stop.
I
Pisses
don't.
me off.
I hate it.
Yeah, it pisses me off. I do feel that way about tennis, though. Because a lot of people don't like tennis, and I'm like, oh, I could watch this for hours.
But yeah, otherwise, Tom has very nice things to say about our show. He says great job and that he is finding the episodes exciting. So thank you very much, Tom. We hope
Yay.
you're having a good time in Seattle.
Yay!
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, thank you, Tom.
Hope it's not raining too much.
Probably is.
Tom was formerly in Arlington, Texas.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yep.
So he was a neighbor. Hey, neighbor.
Hey, neighbor.
Hey, former neighbor.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. It's so awesome.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Steve's kid. I'm so glad that at least 3 people are listening that don't
That we don't know.
us. Yeah.
Because no offense, everyone that knows us, thank you for listening too, and that's super cool.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
But we expect it.
In
Hey,
fact,
that's what happens when you pay, right? Expect
Mom,
it.
Mom, I haven't paid them yet. I haven't paid them yet.
We only pay some of them. You can't let the rest of them know.
I'm sorry. Was I not supposed to talk about that?
Oh man, our
so we
overheads.
pay for our listeners like people pay for likes.
Yeah, it's like the Twitter followers.
Okay.
We pay in elfin gold, or what is it? It's in Terry Pratchett. Magical gold disappears after a day. So.
Ah. Oh, okay.
Well, for everyone that's still listening to this super boring episode,
I mean, I wouldn't call it super boring, but
I mean, I
Medium
was pretty
boring.
bored.
there was no combat.
Well, they're interesting level up. This is a
Okay.
very important level for both Roderick and Zenobia, and
Yes.
it was good to get this out in an episode.
No, the bibliography episode that we just did is pretty good.
I take it back. Not super boring, super nerdy.
Super nerdy.
Which for
Very
some
nerdy.
people will be super boring.
And for other people, super exciting. Namely, the people who listen to our show.
So maybe the intro should be that. Should be like a disclaimer
Yeah.
instead of an intro.
I think I actually was thinking that. So thank you everyone for listening to this super educational episode with the Die by the Sword podcast.
You know, I learned, I wouldn't say a lot, but a couple of things.
I've learned I do not want to play a Magus.
Boy, got that right.
And
next week we'll be doing a story recap and getting into the beginning of book 2.
Oh, you know what we forgot to talk about? My brand new character.
We can talk about it next week.
All right, let's talk about it next week.
Da, da, da,
Da,
da.
da, da.